Hello everyone, this is Enzo Universe. This is the fifth video of our Chinese calligraphy sharing series. In this video, I will show you what consists a complete stroke. This method will help you learn and write every Chinese stroke in the future. And then we will go into details about the first stroke called horizontal or Heng in Chinese. This will lead us writing three Chinese characters, 1, 2, 3. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, or share with friends. Your supportive are the great motivation for me to finish this Chinese calligraphy sharing series. First, know about strokes. I guess you have learned some strokes from HSK textbooks. Since we will learn a lot of strokes in the future, I will share with you how to break down a stroke into 5 elements and 5 phases. If you understand these 5 elements and phases of Chinese strokes, they will help you analyze, learn, and write every stroke and the Chinese character. Let me explain them and I will show you how to use them. Let's start with 5 elements of strokes. If we look at different strokes, there are 5 elements that we can use to analyze, learn, and write them. The 5 elements are angle, length, curvature, speed, pressure. You can remember them by ALCSP, or 角度、长度、弧度、速度、力度 in Chinese. Let me introduce them one by one. First is angle. Different strokes have their own angle. For example, the horizontal stroke, called Heng in Chinese, has a horizontal angle, and the vertical stroke, called Shu in Chinese, has a vertical angle. The left falling stroke, called Pie in Chinese, has a lower left angle, and the right falling stroke, called Na in Chinese, has a lower right angle. And the same kinds of stroke may have different angles, such as Pie, there are Pie, 平撇, 竖撇, 斜竖撇, and so on. As you can see, same types of stroke also varies by angle in different Chinese characters. Second is length. Same types of stroke can vary by length. Like Chinese character 3, there are 3 Heng with different length. Or like Chinese character 山, as you can see, there are 4 Pie. Each Pie has its own angle and length. Third is curvature. Different strokes have different curvature. Like these strokes, Heng, Shu, Pie, Na. Obviously, they have their own curvature. Like this Heng and Pie have certain curvature, but Shu has no curvature, and Na consists of 2 straight lines. Same strokes may have different curvature in different characters. Let's look back this 3. First 2 Heng are almost straight, but the bottom one has a little bit of curvature. Or Pie, these 4 Pie not only have different angles, they also have different curvatures. Fourth is speed. Writing with different speed can also influence the shape of strokes. Like when I write Pie with 3 different speed, the first one is steady, slow speed in the whole process. The second one is fast speed in the whole process. The third one is steady, slow speed at first, but fast speed in the very end. As you can see, they present different feelings and shapes, right? The first one seems less variety, stiff, and nerd. Second one looks like a mouse tail, seems weak, with no strength and elasticity. The third one looks elastic, strong, and swift. This is the good Pie that we want. The fifth is pressure. If you use the suggested kind of pen, paper, and writing method that I mentioned in the last video, writing with light pressure creates a thin stroke, and writing with heavy pressure creates a thick one. Let me write Na with and without pressure control. Let's see this Na. Start with light pressure and increase pressure gradually. After turning, decrease the pressure gradually. As a contrast, I write the second Na in steady pressure. You can see the difference is obvious, right? The first one looks powerful, heavy. The second is tedious and numb. You feel me? So, angle, length, curvature, speed, and pressure. aka ALCSP, are the 5 elements that make a stroke looks more beautiful, give the stroke certain spirit. They also help you observe, learn, and write different strokes. If you're a starter, you can just pay attention to angle, length, and curvature, and keep the speed and pressure steady. After your pen controlling ability improves, you can try to control the speed and pressure vary. We will learn how to write every stroke with the help of ALCSP in the future videos. Next, 5 phases of strokes writing. ALCSP are not all about a stroke. In fact, there are 5 phases of writing strokes, and ALCSP can exist and vary in each phases. In general, the 5 phases are initiation, progression, completion, turn, and connection. Not every stroke has those 5 phases. Some strokes may have 2, some have 3 or 4 or 5. You can remember them by IPCTC or 起行收转接 in Chinese. Let me explain them one by one. First, initiation, called 起 in Chinese, means how your pen get in touch with paper. Writing Heng as an example, for starters, we can just put our pen on the paper and start progression. You may say this is a kind of initiation. Well, traditionally, we hold that this method has no initiation. For calligraphy, there are many kinds of initiations. Just add different ALCSP into the initiation, like these examples. Second, progression, called 行 in Chinese, means how your pen going on the paper. For starters, we control the angle, length, curvature, keep steady speed and pressure in progression. For calligraphy, there are many kinds of varieties. Just add different ALCSP into the progression. Third, completion, called 收 in Chinese, means how your pen leaves the paper. For starters, we can just leave the pen off the paper. Also, traditionally, we hold that this method has no completion. For calligraphy, there are many kinds of completion. Also, add different ALCSP into the completion, like these examples. Fourth, turn, called 转 in Chinese, means when your pen is going on the paper, it may need a turn and keep going, like these examples. Fifth, connection, called 接 in Chinese, how 2 or more strokes connect with each other, like these examples. Here are just some simple examples to help you understand 5 phases and what will happen if adding ALCSP into these 5 phases. I will share these skills in the future if you like, and you should notice these are not requirements that all of you have to write this way. These are some calligraphy level skills. They need high pen controlling ability, so write based on your own ability. I will let you know how to practice and use these skills in the future. Okay, now let's start learn some real writing. The first stroke we are learning is horizontal, called Heng in Chinese. I will say Heng to refer to this horizontal stroke in the future. We usually distinguish Heng by their length, so we have long Heng and short Heng, or 长横和短横 in Chinese. Mostly there can be multiple short Hengs, but only one long Heng in one Chinese character. So how to write them? Remember the exercise in pen controlling practices? We write parallel horizontal lines in equal spaces. This is the basic exercise of writing Heng. We put our pen nib in the middle, push the pen to the left side, put our pen on the paper, use fingers and wrist pushing our pen to the right side. We need to write the line steady and smoothly. Well, there are a few more requirements for starters. Think about the ALCSP we just talked about. About angle, most Heng tend to write going upwards. There are 2 main reasons on why Heng should going up slightly. First is our right hand and wrist tend to write lines slightly going up, like this. We just pick the part of this long line as our stroke. So writing upwards is just following the nature structure of our hand and wrist. Second is, the going up lines make the Chinese characters look lively, vigorous, and agile, full of energy and optimism. It's a kind of aesthetic tendencies. This aesthetic aligns with the aesthetic orientations of Western art. So when you observe and feel those horizontal lines in both paintings, can you feel the different, primal, and instinctive emotion? Okay, let's come back. Remember, we just need a slight upward angle. The Chinese characters should look stable and vigorous. The upward angle can't be too big that the Chinese character looks turning over. And the angle may change because the character needs to be balanced. If you ask me what is the specific angle, my suggestion is most of the Heng should be slightly sloped at 3 to 8 degrees in different kinds of Chinese characters. But remember, we are not solving geometric problems. You can't write with a ruler. What we should do is improving our aesthetic level. Try to find the balanced angle with our mind. I will lead you there step by step. At least you should write Heng flat, not going down. About length. Short is short, long is long. Sounds nonsense, huh? Well, how long or how short, we can only decide in one specific Chinese character. I will share with you in examples. About curvature. The short Heng normally just write it straight, with almost no curvature. For long Heng, they had better going upwards slightly in the first half and become flat in the last half. Because in this way, the long Heng appears to have elasticity, strength, and weight. Let's compare these two kinds of Heng. The first one is just going up and straight. The second one is going up with curvature. If we regard these two lines as sticks, the first stick seems straight with no elasticity. We can't tell the weight of it, and we also can't tell it's fragile or solid. Well, the second stick seems like firm with big elasticity. We can tell it is heavy and solid because it's bent due to its gravity. I don't know if you can feel what I told, maybe because the example is not obvious enough, or maybe we can feel the difference when we write more Chinese characters. Just don't write Heng like unhappy emoji or a soft rope. About speed. The speed of writing Heng is steady and under control. Don't write too slow that you need to control your hand keep steady, like carving on paper. Nor don't write too fast that it seems you are throwing the pen nib. Find a comfortable, steady speed that you can write relaxedly. About pressure. The pressure is steady and relaxed. Just write relaxedly with the same pressure, so the line will be smooth. If your pressure is not steady, the line may look like a fragile and withered branch, like this. Here are 3 Chinese characters for us to learn using only Heng. For starters or daily handwriting scenarios, we can just put 5 phrases aside. Let's focus on writing stable Chinese character and steady strokes. The first question is how to use grids. As I recommended in the last video, we normally use Tian's grids to practice Chinese characters. So let me show you how to use this. Then we can start our practice. As you can see, there are horizontal and vertical dotted lines in these grids. These are the reference lines of horizontal and vertical directions. Like, if I write this Heng, I will know this Heng is going down. Or, I write this vertical stroke, I will know it's not straight or not quite vertical enough. The intersection point of the horizontal and vertical lines is the center of this grid. Each Chinese character should be written around this center. One Chinese character takes up around 30% to 60% of the grid space. They are not taking all of the grids. You can think of it this way. Every Chinese character needs space to breathe, meaning it requires proper spacing to feel balanced and relaxed. Such a space also exists within the Chinese character. We will talk about this in future videos. So you can't write Chinese character too big or too small. Okay, let's find the half points or 2/3 points on each side of the grids, like this. And we draw vertical lines of them. So the center square is almost the proper size we write Chinese characters in square grids. That's why I mentioned we can use Huizi square grids in the last video, because this can help you make sure how big your Chinese characters should be written. Personally, I think we can just control the size of the handwriting by ourselves, just roughly estimate the size. So I think Tian's square grids are good enough. Alright, let's start learning the real writing. The first Chinese character we learn is yi. This is also a long Heng. So the requirements of writing a long Heng I've just mentioned. Just put your pen nib at the center point, move your pen to the left side, a little bit lower than the middle horizontal line of Tian's grid. Use fingers and wrist cooperate together, pushing the pen to the right side. The line go upwards in the first half and become flat in the last half. You just write long Heng in the center of a Tian's grid. So for us self-taught learners, here are key self-check points. First, the length of both sides are most equal. Second, the long Heng goes upwards in the first half and becomes flat in the last half. Third, the stroke is smooth. The second Chinese character we learn is R. This Chinese character consists of one short Heng and one long Heng. We say 短横和长横 in Chinese. Well, here are some important Chinese character structure rules you need to learn. Rule number 1. Alignment of the visual center in the middle. The visual center of a Heng is in the middle. It's simple, right? No matter long one or short one. This rule number 1 requires the visual center of two Heng align in a vertical line or direction. This will make the Chinese characters look upright and well proportioned. Let me write R like this or this. This character is kind of crooked and loop-sided. The left part is too heavy or too many, but the other side is too light and empty. It looks unbalanced. Rule number 2. Multiple lines are parallel. If there are more than one Heng in a Chinese character, we tend to keep all the Heng parallel. This kind of parallelism is not perfectly parallel in the geometric sense, but rather a visual one. So the short Heng is slightly going upwards, and the long Heng is slightly going upwards in the same direction in the first half to parallel with the short Heng, and going flat in the last half to make the character seem upright and well proportioned. Rule number 3. The shortest part is no shorter than the 1/3 of the longest part, and no longer than the half of the longest part. This rule basically answered the question we left in the length part when we talked about how long is long and how short is short. In this case, the length of the short Heng is between 1/3 and half of the middle part, and the length of long Heng is almost all of the half of the grid's width. And another question is, what is the distance between the two Heng? My tip is the distance is almost the same as the length of the short Heng. If the distance is too big, those two Heng looks like they are not relative to each other. This Chinese character looks too loose. If the distance is too small, those two Heng are too close that feel like cramped or stifling. So for us self-taught learners, here are the self-check key points. First, the length of both sides are almost equal. Second, the two strokes are follow the rule number 1, rule number 2, and rule number 3. Third, the strokes are smooth. Fourth, the distance between the two Heng is almost as same as the length of the short Heng. The third Chinese characters we are learning is san. It follows almost the same Chinese character rules of R. This Chinese character consists of one short Heng, and one long Heng. We say 短横和长横 in Chinese. And the same question is, what is the distance between every two Hengs? My tip is the distance is just a little bit less than the length of the shortest Heng. If the distance is too big, this san looks too loose. If the distance is too small, those three Heng are too close that feel like the Chinese character is hard to breathe. More explanation about the distance I will introduce in the next video. But we need to upgrade number 2 to ultimate version. Multiple Heng are parallel and equidistant. That means not only these Heng are parallel, but the space between them are even. So for us self-taught learners, here are the self-check key points. First, the length of both sides are almost equal. Second, the 3 strokes follow rule number 1, 2 ultra, and 3. Third, the strokes are smooth. Fourth, the distance between each heng is just a little bit less than the length of the shortest heng. Well, for calligraphy level handwriting, we can add details on the Chinese characters we just learned, such as initiation, progression, and completion. This requires you a relatively high ability of pen controlling. If you can write a proper dian, you can try practice this kind of heng. But before this, just practice the daily handwriting part is good enough. Because this video is long enough, so I plan to share with you the calligraphy handwriting of heng in future videos. Alright, that's all of this video. Let's summarize together. First, we know there are 5 elements in a stroke that we can use to observe, analyze, and learn a stroke. They are angle, length, curvature, speed, and pressure. We short them for ALCSP. They basically decide what a stroke looks like. Second, we also know there are 5 phases we may use to write a perfect stroke and even Chinese characters. They are initiation, progression, completion, turn, and connection. When we start calligraphy level handwriting, they will help us write different style of Chinese characters. But this requires a high ability of pen controlling. Then we know how to use 10th grades to help us tell the angle and the length of a stroke, as well as the size and the location of a Chinese character. Fourthly, we learn how to write 长横和短横 and the 3 Chinese characters 1, 2, 3. By learning them, we also learn 3 rules of Chinese character structures. Rule number 1 is alignment of the visual center in the middle. Rule number 2 ultra, multiple heng are parallel and equidistant. Rule number 3, the shortest part is no shorter than the 1/3 of the longest part and no longer than the half of the longest part. Alright, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, or sharing. Your supportive are the great motivation for me to finish this sharing series. Thank you. See you around.